Welcome back to another video by the Canadian Home Painter. Today's video, I just want to go over a few tips and tricks and techniques, things to keep in mind when painting in a garage. So if you live in North America, you might have a garage, and it's most likely not heated. So a few things that you want to keep in mind before you would go ahead and prime and paint the drywall is that throughout the winter, if you live in a colder climate, you're going to want to make sure that those walls are at least insulated and vapor barriered to prevent some of the cold and the outside elements from coming through the brick or siding and going through the exterior into the interior of your garage. If you were to go and paint your garage and your walls are not insulated or vapor barriered, you're most likely going to have some issues with the paint, especially in climates where we deal with all four seasons. You have fall and winter and spring and summer. Fall and spring, a little more damp weather, especially the springtime with all of the rain, of course, and still the cool temperatures. So that moisture that is outside will be coming through the wall, and you'll have very little protection as far as that not affecting your drywall. Garages are notorious for your drywall to have problems with the taping and compound, so broken tape and bubbled tape, etc. So here in Canada, most garages are not heated, which this is not that big of a deal if you do have insulated walls and vapor barrier. So you can see the two different drywalls. The one is where it meets up with the interior of the house, and the other drywall is where it does not. It meets up with the exterior wall of the house. So they're just two different drywalls to handle the different elements. But as long as the garage is staying cool, that's not that big of a deal. What you really want to guard against is those outside elements penetrating through the exterior wall and causing issues with your primer and paint. So that would be the thing I would want to first stress. The next thing, I am using a very good primer. It's just an interior exterior primer. It can be used inside or outside. And after the primer, I am using an interior paint because even though this is a garage that's not heated, so it will get cold in the winter, you don't want to use an exterior paint because exterior paints typically need the UV rays to really dry and cure properly, whereas interior paint, you don't need that. I've painted a lot of garages, and the only time I've had issues was, like I had said originally at the start, there was no insulation or vapor barrier on the outside wall. And I was told that there was, and eventually, because of the very wet springs, cold winters, and all of that, all those outside elements just coming through the brick, right through the wood, right into the drywall. The drywall was so, absorbing a lot of that dampness, and then that was penetrating through into the garage. Not only that, but the homeowner in that scenario liked to run a little propane heater sometimes in his garage. So that created more of like a rainforest atmosphere. And there was some problems with the paint and the drywall taping job. What he had to eventually do is drill holes and get insulation blown into the wall, which, well, it helped anyway. And all the wall cavities had to be insulated, and then those holes had to be fixed up, and the garage had to be repainted. And there hasn't been any issues since. But this would be one thing that you definitely want to keep in mind. Now, in garages where the walls are insulated and vapor barriered, even though it does get cool in the garage, it typically will be okay for your paint. Now, when you're applying your paint and primer, you definitely want to do that in a good temperature. So you want the outside temperature and inside temperature to be at least above 10 degrees. So that means even in the evenings, you don't want that temp to be dipping below the 10 degrees. And if you follow that, it should be fine. I am just going to get this, show you how I get this first coat of primer on. Now, the drywall in garages, it's typically not done great, but then again, this isn't the inside of your house, it's the garage. And this is more or less to freshen it up, make it look nice. And garages typically get damaged, and you're hanging things off the wall, you got your rakes and your shovels and everything else, and but this is just to make it look clean and fresh. Do not expect that you won't have joints crack, drywall tape bubble, etc., because like I said, it's hard with the different changing of temperature. You have such a range in a garage that it's hard for those things to have a longevity to them, and it's something that you'll probably want to be repainting, down the road again anyway. But this is just for someone that would want their garage to look a little bit nicer and cleaned up and nice and fresh. For the drywall or the primer application, I'm just using a 10 millimeter roller. I'm using my 4-foot paint roller that extends out, but I don't even need to extend it out. So 10 millimeter roller sleeve, 9.5 inch long, lint free, and I'm just going top to bottom. The key is not putting on too much primer on your roller sleeve, and I usually like to really spread it out so it's nice and even, and you don't want to have too much on there, and you don't need it too heavy. And just make sure that you put it on nice and even. And I just work my way one way to the other. Typically, I go from right to left, and you'll see how I have the roller sleeve. So on the roller cage, that's how I usually like to have it. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to write them below, and I usually get back to my viewers quite quickly. I'm just editing a few other videos. Be sure to look out for a few that are coming up. One is painting some furniture at my house here for some friends and family. So yeah, be sure to watch that. A dresser and a nightstand I'm painting. Yeah, I hope everyone is doing well, staying safe and healthy. If you did like this video or found it helpful, I do appreciate the thumbs up. That always helps the channel. If you haven't subscribed, I'd ask that you subscribe if you found this content helpful to you. And yeah, definitely look for more content. And I'm always open to suggestions from my viewers for video ideas. So yeah, I hope this helps you in your venture to paint your own garage. If you have any questions about products I use, you can put those below, and I'll definitely get back to you. And yeah, thanks for watching.